All right, now we've been joined by the man of the hour, Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 2 Discount Tire Ford. Thanks for joining us, Brad. We know you've
Thank
been
you.
a little busy the last couple hours. Just quickly, maybe an opening statement just on what it means to win. You know, here at Indy, obviously very special to Team Penske, for your team owner, Roger Penske. But then you also mentioned that it was your first Monster Energy Cup Series win for your sponsor, Discount Tire. Just what it means to be able to kind of have all of those things come together today.
Yeah, I mean, today was obviously a big day, but for us, a number of reasons why, and I know most of you know that, but I'll just go ahead and repeat them. With Roger Penske getting his first Cup win here, and myself getting the first Cup win here at such a historic racetrack that means so much to all of motorsports. So for us to have our name on that win list sure does mean a lot to me. I can tell you that. And then you look at some of the other things we have going on, about to enter the playoffs, of course, having those few extra playoff bonus points. You never know when you're going to need those. You just can't ever predict it. So having 5 more of those sure does make us feel good about the next 10 weeks ahead. And then finally, like you said, our sponsors, Discount Tire, this is the first. They've been with me since 2010. And I don't know if I would be here in my career without them. But this is the first time they've been with us at the Cup level, and this is their first win. What a great first win to have, and I'm really happy for them as well. So just a terrific day all the way around, and I'm really, really happy, really just very much thrilled. Today was not an easy day. We certainly didn't go out and just dominate the whole race, but my team executed everything perfectly, caught a little bit of break, but we put ourselves in position for that break and then executed before and after it. So just very much thrilled to be here and thrilled to be a Brickyard 400 winner.
All right, we're going to take questions for Brad. If you have one, please state your name and affiliation.
Second ready, kickingthetires.net. Obviously, it came down to that final restart, and you ended up getting the lead from Denny. Pretty wild racing back and forth with you two. Can you kind of recap how that last restart went with you and the 11 car?
Yeah, I knew we'd have a shot to run with Denny, and on that restart, the inside line just had incredible grip, and we drove from third to second entering turn 1, and then I knew it was just a matter of settling in. I was extremely loose, and so I was kind of nervous about that, being so loose and around Denny because, I knew I was going to have to pass him on the inside, and when you pass him on the inside, you get even looser, and I'd almost spun out right before the yellow came out before that, so, I got a little bit of a run on him off of turn 4 with 2 to go and got right up behind him through 1 and 2, and eventually was able to just barely take a peek underneath them off of 2 and try to get a run. And we held each other pretty tight entering 3, and I knew going into turn 3 underneath them that with no air on the right side of the car, I was just going to wreck us both. So I had to let him go and try to make another run at him for turn 4, and that's what we were able to do, was able to just get in there and kind of dig position into turn 4, and it stuck, and I was able to clear him, and gosh, that was one of the best things I ever heard in my life, was clear off of turn 4 at Brickyard coming to the white flag. So what a day. It was to me, a great finish. And like I said, we weren't good enough to beat him straight up, and we didn't. But we put ourselves in position to do it with great strategy and timing all the moves right on pit road and on the racetrack. So I'm really thrilled for that.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. For as great as this moment is, how tough was it a year ago, and what was the difference in terms of the restarts? I know you were in different lanes, but
yeah,
it was kind of, in some sense, a similar situation.
Well, yeah, there was a lot going on here today. That certainly, to your point, victories like this are sweeter when you've had failures beforehand. And I feel like I've had a car capable of winning this race 2 or 3 times in the past. Today was probably, not even in the top 3 for cars that I've had here. With that in mind, either I didn't execute or we didn't execute as a team. And so you try to learn from that, and you try to be better and apply yourself in the best way possible. And today we executed across the board. I executed the passes I needed to execute, executed the long run there, executed the strategy on the team's end and the pit stop on the team's end, and that's why we're here today. So with that in mind, that's part of the ebbs and flows and part of what makes this victory taste so sweet.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I have two. The first, just Denny obviously was a little bit upset that lap cars, that lap cars kind of wreck and end up bringing the field back. Just how, I want to say random is it, or how much, is it luck the right word?
Yeah, I mean, Indy has always been this way. Before I came here this weekend, I sat down and watched the 1994 Indy 500, and the announcers were talking towards the closing stages how Indy always changes right at the end, and that's always been how this race seems to play out. There's always something that happens with 20 to go that completely shakes everything up. I don't know why that is. In that particular race, Emerson Fittipaldi was going to win it hands down, and he got caught up in lap traffic, spun out in a wreck, and Little Al did. But with that in mind, that's been the story of this race forever, and it's burned us. And today it probably worked in our favor. So, like I said, you got to take the ups with the downs and appreciate when you're on the upswing and put yourself in position to be on the upswing. But no, sometimes those things aren't going to work out. Today it did, and we're very proud of that and thankful for it.
And with McMurray up there near the end, were you wondering what type of moves he might try to pull, considering he was
Jamie's a pretty solid and smart racer, and quite honestly, we had such a great car there at the end with the new tires that I felt pretty confident we'd be able to make the most of it, Bob.
Zach Worrell, Indy Star. Brad, have you had a chance to speak with Roger yet? And if so, what's that conversation like?
Yes, I did. It was a very brief conversation. He's unfortunately couldn't be here today. He's on a secret mission somewhere. So if you know Roger Penske, that makes perfect sense. But with that in mind, I very much wish he was here, and I'm thinking about him. And just such a big day for Team Penske. It's such a shame he wasn't here.
Matt Weaver, Auto Week. I got two for you, Brad. The first one, you had said earlier that getting the all clear was like a big matter of relief. Did you expect a little bit more resistance from Denny, because you were kind of the aggressor, leaning on him?
I knew Matt. I was really loose through turn 4, and I bobbled trying to get by him and to make the pass, and I was like, and I couldn't quite carry the run, and I thought he might still be there, and I knew if he was still there off of 4 that the race was over. I wasn't going to win.
And secondly, it feels like, maybe you'll disagree, but it feels like this race more than any other is so strategy dependent, and having a guy like Paul who can make those right calls is very vital. I never feel like there's ever a moment that you really question one of his calls. How much is it just a value to have a guy that you're on the same page with?
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. It's kind of like mom and dad arguing. Mom and dad should never argue in front of their kids. So, I'm not going to say that Paul and I always agree on everything, but I sure did agree with that last call. And, we try to stay on the same page as much as possible. But these races are so dynamic. You come into them with a plan, and then yellows come out and things happen. And next thing you know, your plan is garbage. And that's tough to deal with sometimes, but that's part of racing. But Paul's a smart guy and made the most of the strategy when it counted. I think so. Strategy is so important here because the cars struggle so much with the aerodynamics behind each other that you can have a much faster race car and not be able to pass. And so getting all that right is very critical. No problem, Matt.
Brad, two wins. Steve Schweitzer, the Lasco Press. 2 wins in a row, heading into the playoffs. That's got to be a huge confidence boost and momentum boost. What can you do to keep that rolling over the next few weeks?
Trying to look at the next 10 weeks. The next 10 weeks are races upon their own. There's a lot of conversation based around momentum, and today's certainly great, but there's not a lot we're going to really take from it from Vegas other than the 5 bonus points and the money. With that in mind, so we're proud of this win, for sure, but it's no guarantee for any success in the playoffs. We have to go out and earn it each and every lap of each and every race.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. A couple things. Obviously, anything can happen in the playoffs. You understand that, been around. But with the advantage that at least Kyle and Kevin have in terms of playoff points, do you almost view it as everybody else is racing for 2 spots at Homestead, or do you almost feel like it's 1 spot with Truex?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you can have one really bad race and lose 50 points pretty quick, Dustin. And honestly, they don't have 50 on me. I think they have 35 on me, if that's right. Rough. I mean, give me a little bit of slack. It's close, right? Yeah. There's nobody's going to audit us, right? It's somewhere around there. 2019 to 2050, so it's 31. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, that's a good race in the playoffs is a 40 to 45 point race. So that in mind, a bad race in the playoffs is like a 3 or a 5 point race. So that's within that window pretty quickly. There's no guarantees. I would want to be in the 50s or 60s to feel like I was going to have a lock to Homestead. So they're close to that, but not there. So, and then, of course, those last 3 races, you have 3 different winners that aren't them. And that means there's only 1 seat at the table. So we're looking forward to those weeks. Each one of these rounds, the way that the schedule has realigned, has had a racetrack that I think we can win at. So I'm really optimistic about that. Probably for us, Homestead is the toughest besides the Roval track for us. So we're excited and ready to go, but there's a big challenge in front of us, but also an incredible opportunity.
And on pit road, Kyle Busch was asked if who's the 4th among the big 3, and he suggested it's you based on the last 2 weeks. So, are you the 4th?
I'd love to be the first. There's no guarantee in any of these things, so I don't know. That's a long ways from now, and I think you get to looking too far ahead. That's how you get yourself in trouble. I think you got to go 1 week at a time. And I know that sounds like the old football coach cliche, but that's really the reality here, because you can dig a big hole so fast when you get to looking too far ahead. No problem, Dustin.
Bob, go ahead.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. There's been some joking over the last few days that maybe this race is just cursed because of all the rain. And I'm curious if you felt, from a Penske standpoint, whether you guys have been kind of cursed in this race.
Yeah, we have felt a little cursed, Bob. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But honestly, I felt like I've made some mistakes along the way that have kept us from winning. And today was a day where we just didn't make them. And we had great strategy, a little bit of luck on our side, and perfect execution.
And do you think today could be potential for lifting maybe any curse off this race? Or when we talk about, who knows what type of aero package you'll have come here a year from now?
Well, I really like the idea of this race being maybe not the cutoff race to the playoffs, but towards the fall months. I think there's a good fit there, and it makes good sense to me. I'd really like it if it was, like IRP or whatever that track's called now on a Wednesday, and then Indy on a Sunday. I wish we could race twice in this region in the week, so you get a little dose of both. But you can't complain. The track's trying really hard to do what they can do, and we're very fortunate to be able to have stock cars here running at this track, and thankful for that opportunity.
All right. Do we have one more question? Everybody good? Okay. I believe we have one more.
Dustin Albino, front stretch. Brad, after you won last week, you said you expected to run 5th to 10th. Is that about where you expected to run today?
Yeah, it was pretty similar. We were a little bit worse than that at times, a little bit better than that at times. Obviously, in the end, when you do everything right in these types of races, you can execute and have a shot at it, and we did just that.
All right, Brad, before we let you sneak out, we have a quick presentation for you. A little visitor here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I didn't know you were back there, I swear.
So for the Indy 500, when the 100th running came up, we started going around town to help promote giving out bottles of milk, just to promote the running. And then this year, I think you noticed in town, airport, everywhere, we've really tried to make sure people know how important this race is. So what we did is decided it wasn't a good idea to give the governor a bottle of Big Machine Vodka. So we did a Big Machine Vodka logo, and we gave out champagne bottles. We gave out 24 of them ahead of you. We saved 25 of 25 for the winner of the event. So don't drink it. It's cheap champagne with just really cool graphics on it. So.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate
Congrats, man. Really excited for you, and really excited for Roger, and can't wait to have you back.
I know where this is going. This is going on a mantle somewhere. So thank you very
All right,
much.
thanks.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
congrats.
Cheers.
All right.